How much do you want? Well, listen, the more work you get, the more you get to eat. Thank you. Come steady. Well, here we are. No, 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 no. The more wood, the more food. Oh, the train. Correct. Now, come on.
Hello, welcome once again to AmphaTube. Today's AmphaTube is going to analyze what's the crisis in Sri Lanka, our neighboring country. We'll have a quick look at the history of Sri Lanka after independence, reason for present crisis, what are the probable solutions, and what are the learnings for other countries. Sri Lankan history, if you have a glance, it got independence from British rule on February 4th, 1948. The governance was not completely handed over to Sri Lanka. It happened in a very step-by-step process. Senanayake was the first prime minister of Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka has become a republic, the Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, on 22nd May 1972. And the very notorious, infamous, the civil war between Sinhalese and Tamils Elam has happened from 1983 to May 2009. The major political parties are UNP, SLFP and SLPP. Explanations are given in the description. Please have a look. Present government led by Gotabaya Rajapaksa, he sworn in on November 2019 as new president. He was the former civil wartime defense chief and the candidate of Sinhalese Buddhist Nationalist Party. And the present prime minister is his brother and ex-president Mahinda Rajapaksa, and also the finance minister is their other sibling. What is the present crisis? Sri Lanka is undergoing a high inflation of 17%. This is a worst situation after 2008. Fuel prices have gone up 85% higher. And the present debt, foreign debt, is 110% of GDP. So just imagine the gross domestic production is very, very insufficient to meet the debt. And there is no money with the public to buy food and essential items. There is severe scarcity of fuel. It is given and supplied in ration. In 2016 report, Sri Lanka's major exports are knitted cloths and non-knitted cloths, mainly the textiles and garments and apparels, tea, coffee and spices, rubber and rubber-related articles, then coconut products. We know how the GDP is calculated. Now, Sri Lanka's GDP is very, very insufficient. Why it is insufficient? Let's look at the formula. GDP is equal to private consumption plus gross private investment plus government spending plus the difference between exports and imports. Since Sri Lanka has more imports than exports, there is a trade deficit, and this is directly impacting the GDP. Export commodities are mainly textiles, tea, coconut, fishes, gems and jewelry, food and beverages, rubber and spices. How much Sri Lanka is able to focus on this and how much they are able to diversify, all that became matter for the current crisis. The main reason for present crisis is low forex reserve, where Sri Lanka has 2.31 billion US dollars. However, the debt repayment in 2022 itself is 4 billion US dollars. The political leadership, just to gain popularity, announced freebies and welfare expenses, and which has consumed more than the domestic production and development. This is really a takeaway and learning for many of the states in India, where during election, many political parties used to announce freebies and welfare schemes, which is eating up a large portion of tax and the gross production. So this is something which we have to be very cautiously see. Tax cut offered to political win was also retracted. And China's line of credit, which is different from a normal loan policy, China is giving a line of credit for the port development. The infrastructure development will be done by the Chinese company, and the Chinese manpower will be utilized. And in case if Sri Lanka is unable to repay, the control will be taken over by China. It is said that the port was analyzed for its business viability by various global consultants. They declared it is unviable and uneconomical and poor ROI. But in spite of that, Sri Lanka went ahead building the port on the debt amount. And another major reason for the present crisis is the sudden announcement for 100% of organic farming and banned all chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Mainly those chemical fertilizers and pesticides were imported. However, any changes in agriculture has to be done on a very gradual, step-by-step way, where otherwise it is going to have a very negative impact, which has resulted in present Sri Lanka's food and necessary items scarcity. This has affected the internal consumption requirement and also exports. And by foreseeing this situation, many food mafia has started hoarding the food items. Take the simple example of a 100% organic announcement, how it became a tragedy. The organic must be a gradual implementation in agriculture. And it is not a very advisable way to say that, okay, present chemical fertilizers are entirely very bad for the health. All of a sudden you stop all chemical fertilizers and grow only the bio fertilizers, biomanure. It's impossible. So that's what it happened. And the biocompost manure supply should be sufficient to cater to the whole country's agricultural requirement, which was not the case. And thereby the yield of the farming was affected, and which became insufficient for the domestic consumption and also for the export production. So this is very similar to a sudden announcement of policies. It's a demonetization or a plastic ban or anything of that. When a larger population is attached to a particular system, a sudden declaration of banning such a system and switching over to an entirely different mode, the system collapse and struggle in a very severe way. This is a serious learning from Sri Lanka's present situation. We shall certainly continue this session with more learnings. And till then, bye-bye. Thank you. Colombo beach, very exotic, beautiful and very cool. It is very close to the city where you have a good access, and even the food, the street food, the halal street food is very active. You can get varieties of fish food like calamari, prawn, crab, and even different small fishes, meat, chicken, beef, mutton. It's really a good place for outing.